things aren't going very well in Afghanistan, as I'm sure that your newsfeed on social media has revealed to you, because, well, frankly, and I don't want to just be like, well, this is Biden's fault, but it is definitely Biden's fault. Or when I say Biden, I mean the Biden regime, whoever is controlling Biden, because I think you covered this yesterday, didn't you, with he's falling asleep in interviews, meetings, and
he didn't actually. He just very much looked like
right. He just really looked like he was asleep. And then when he's presenting his press conferences, he says, well, they've told me to call so-and-so from ABC News, or they've told me not to talk about that subject. And the question is, well, who is that mysterious they? And it's like, But anyway, so they, whoever they happen to be, puppeteering Joe Biden, have made a real mess of Afghanistan. And as we've covered last week, the US decided to leave the Taliban $85 billion of military equipment for some reason. This was actually amazing. Just to recap, 167 operational aircraft and 33, including 33 Black Hawk attack helicopters. This totals to more than 200 airplanes and helicopters. Obviously, not all of them are, combat ready at the moment, but still, why do they have like the third or fourth largest air power in the world now? Thanks, Joe.
I mean, I kind of get maybe leaving behind some transport helicopters, in the sense of like, oh, we just got to get out of here, but then you blow them up.
Yeah,
but leaving attack
disable
helicopters?
Them. Yeah, it's like fully functional attack helicopters. Yeah. Yes, we're going to let the Taliban have these because for some reason we have to leave right now.
Surely you just you get everyone out, get in the attack helicopter, fly up, and just bomb the other helicopters with that one. I don't know.
Presumably filming on your phone because it must look amazing. But anyway, so yes, Republican Representative Jim Banks from Indiana warned that due to the negligence of this administration, the Taliban possesses more than $85 billion worth of US military equipment, including 75,000 vehicles, 200 airplanes and helicopters, and more than 600,000 small arms and light weapons, which means they have more Black Hawk helicopters than 85% of the other countries around the world. Incredible. What amazing work. And so you can see the Taliban arriving at their new gift from Joe Biden. It's incredible.
So this is on top of the 85 billion. I just want to be clear. So they already had that. And now the Americans have left their section of the airport. This is them walking into the now abandoned section of the airport, finding yet more.
I bet they can't believe their bloody luck. And I mean, who can really? Like, just walk in. There's all this pristine military equipment that nobody thought we need to scupper this or anything like that. Even if you're not going to take it, just leave it for them. Okay.
To be fair, I think just before we started, a Taliban account was posting that American fools had tried to disable some of them. They were like smashing the glass windows on like the speedometers and whatnot, and some of the windows. And he was just like, "Yeah, we'll just get this fixed in a day."
Yeah, but bomb them. You have explosives. You're on a military base. Yeah. You make sure that they're literally smoking heaps of ruin, rubble. But anyway, so you get the Taliban Twitter account, official Twitter account, it seems, posting like them celebrating. Yeah. Basically, I didn't bother with the clip because they're just yelling Allahu Akbar.
But there's a very strange energy to it. Like he's like, Takbir, Allahu Akbar. But it's very much like, I can't believe we've won.
Yes.
You can get it even though you don't speak the language.
But then no one else can believe they've won either, so you don't need to speak the language. And so this led to the breaking news of today, which was someone hanging from a Black Hawk helicopter or some helicopter that is undoubtedly something that the Americans have left for them as they fly around. And so the Independent report, the Taliban is seemingly parading their new Air Force. That's right, Joe. The Taliban's new Air Force. I hope you sent them a little welcome card. I wonder if they sent them a thank you email. But yeah, they're parading their new Air Force over in the skies of Afghanistan, with video online purporting to show US-made Black Hawk helicopters flying over the streets of Kandahar. The unverified footage was released by the Twitter account Talib Times, which claims to be the official news from the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. It's amazing. Honestly, it feels like Jackass has taken over the country, doesn't it? It just really feels that way. Just like, it's ridiculous.
For the people who are good at editing and listening, I'd love to see a rendition with the Jackass intro and some of the footage.
Yeah. They tweeted out, our Air Force. At this time, the Islamic Emirates Air Force helicopters are flying over Kandahar city and patrolling the city. And this comes days after another video showed the Taliban seemingly test driving the captured Black Hawk helicopters over the ground at Kandahar Airport. The National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said the US doesn't have a complete picture of the defense materials that have fallen into the hands of the Taliban. No accountability. There's going to be no accountability for this. So I guess I've been proved wrong. I didn't think they'd know how to fly them. Well, there we go. There's been a story going around as well that a female Afghan pilot has been stoned to death. I've not been able to confirm this, and I just thought I'd add this on. This story has been going around, and it was using pictures from like a few years ago that you can find on a Google reverse image search. So I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying that the posts going around don't substantiate that. But yeah, so here we go, our Air Force. And there's been a lot of questions about the person hanging from the helicopter. Now, we can't confirm or deny who that is because we have no idea, but it doesn't seem like they've been hung from the helicopter. Or hanged, as it were. They appear to be in a harness and waving their arms around, so they're not dead. This is why it looks like Jackass has taken over Afghanistan.
There's another high quality photo as well of this, where you can see him like waving to the crowd below him. It was just like, why are you doing this? Like, who finds a helicopter and is like, yeah, strap me in, I want to go for a ride.
What, inside? No, on the outside.
Yeah.
Just hang me out. Like, do you trust the Taliban's helicopter pilots to successfully land? Because I don't. But anyway, so yes, like things are...
Johnny Knoxville over there.
Yeah. Abdul Knoxville is taken to the skies in Afghanistan. I shouldn't be joking about this because it's all terrible. But the Taliban, of course, posting memes about it on Twitter. Why not? No, you don't need a gun from the insufferable Western leftists, and then replying with, the right to bear attack helicopters shall not be infringed.
With all the attack helicopters they have.
I mean, they're the ones who would know since they have so many. Moving on, the next one, they keep memeing us. And to be honest with you, they're just owning us. Absolutely owning us. The entire West is currently getting dunked on by a bunch of just sand-dusted goat herders from the mountains. How is this happening? So yes, listen, Mr. Americans, your taxes are now in a better place than the last 20 years.
And they show pictures of some aircraft, helicopters and planes, and some small attack helicopters.
They are laughing at you. Anyway, so returning to what the Taliban are actually doing then, it's business as usual. Pink News are complaining that a gay man was raped by the Taliban for being gay. It's a weird flex.
They're not reported to do that. They're mostly reported to kill them, but I mean, it's possible.
Well, the incident occurred after the chap called Hanan started talking to a man on social media who promised he would help get him out of Afghanistan. But it turned out to be a Taliban honeypot, as it were. And he was met by two members of the Taliban who then proceeded to beat and rape him and even demanded he hand over his father's number so they could call him and tell him his son was gay. So this is awful, obviously, but it's a very strange thing for you to say, you're not allowed to be gay, now we're going to have sex with you.
This does exist in the Arab world. I didn't know it existed with the Taliban, but yeah,
well,
it's very like
here we go.
Thinking. But the whole thing is
very, very normal, logical thinking. I hate gay people, therefore I'm going to have sex with a man, just to show him how bad it is. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the phrase I believe is like taking your soul.
Yes,
so it's like you leave the person essentially an empty vessel.
Well, I suppose it would. So Artemis Akbari, an Afghan LGBT plus rights activist who is now based in Turkey, told ITV News that the Taliban is lying when it says the new regime will be more tolerant than the previous one. Well done.
Oh, what do you mean?
I can't believe, but they use the language of diversity and inclusion and tolerance and respect. I can't believe they're not being honest about it.
I'm super shocked.
So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Apparently, the dogs in the American service dogs, 51 of them, have been caught. And now they're in cages. And, I mean, the Taliban aren't exactly reluctant to shoot human beings. And Islam generally doesn't like dogs very much, does it? As a philosophy.
The Prophet hated dogs.
Yeah,
therefore,
for some reason.
The followers of the Prophet must hate dogs.
Yes. I personally think they're good boys who didn't do nothing and, best boys who need to be let go or sent home. But they're probably going to get shot because a lot of other people are getting shot, and I don't think they're going to be like, well, not the dogs. Anyway, so this has led to General Kenneth McKenzie, the commander of US Central Command, pointing out that, yes, there actually were Americans who couldn't make it to the airport and were left behind in Afghanistan. This somewhat contradicts a tweet from the current US President Joe Biden, made in 2019, where he says, in the United States of America, we leave nobody behind. No matter your race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, or disability, we need a president who understands that. We can go to the next one, John. Turns out that was a lie. Turns out they do. Joe Biden himself leaves people behind, and good boys.
Many
of them. And lots of taxpayer-funded military equipment for people I think we can just scientifically, objectively describe as evil madmen.
God, look at these two people in this video here. Like, we trust in Joe Biden. They started that with. Oh, God.
It's awful, isn't it? But anyway, so apparently it's about 250 stranded Americans, according to reports. Interestingly, the Iranian hostage crisis was 52 Americans being held hostage, and Joe Biden's going to do nothing about this. And so Secretary of State Antony Blinken had to go out and try and explain himself, and the explanation was embarrassing, to say the least. He sounded like he was a manager at a corporate board meeting. So, growth this quarter has been up 300%, and we're doing so fantastically well in Asian markets and things like. It sounded like
TPS reports are very
yeah, exactly. We our profit margins are increasing by 3% every week, something like that, which would be fantastic growth actually. But he sounds exactly like that, and it's generally embarrassing. It's a bizarro corporate presentation when there's genuine human tragedy going on and Americans being left behind enemy lines to the tender mercies of psychos.
But also, just to mention the realpolitik of this,
Yeah.
I know Joe Biden gets a lot of the blame because he's commander-in-chief in the American system, but this guy is meant to be in charge of defense. He's the military man.
Yeah, he's Secretary of State.
Yeah.
He's not Secretary of Defense.
Sorry.
But he's just a very
there,
but the whole the Biden regime, whatever components of it, they're all like, surely you would think they'd be firing all cylinders to be like, right, okay, well, we've got a bunch of Americans that we stranded in an incredibly hostile country. What person would be thinking about anything other than rescuing them? But they've been really busy though. They're diplomats. They've been incredibly busy. Let's watch the clip and we'll find out how busy they've been.
In coordination under some of the most challenging circumstances imaginable. Many, many people made this possible. I want to commend our outstanding diplomats who worked around the clock and around the world to coordinate the operation. They volunteered for duty at the Kabul airport. They flew to transit countries to help process thousands of Afghans bound for the United States. They deployed to ports of entry and American military bases to welcome Afghans to their new homes. They staffed a 24/7 task force here in Washington, overseen by Deputy Secretary Brian McKeon. And they built a list of Americans possibly seeking to leave Afghanistan, then worked to contact every single one of them repeatedly, making 55,000 phone calls, sending 33,000 emails since August 14th. They solved problem after problem to keep the mission moving forward.
Done everything we can, Callum. Look, 55,000 phone calls. 33,000 emails. Dear Mr. Taliban, please let Abdul, the collaborator, come to America.
Don't worry, bro. We totally will.
Yeah. I mean, you've got,
No need to call him.
You've got the Brits and Canadians and the Dutch and whatnot sending in special forces to retrieve them, extract them. But, they're sending emails.
I do want to mention, I did see a report of, I think it was SEALs or some American Special Forces just disowned orders and were just like, we're just going to go out and get our people.
Yes.
Like the Brits and the Canadians were doing.
Yes, Chad. And there was also a private initiative, apparently, try and do that as well. So good. But yes, no, the Biden administration will send them strongly worded emails and hopefully get them at a time when they're in the office to pick up the phone. But so what are they going to do with the Taliban? Let's find out.
For the time being, we will use this post in Doha to manage our diplomacy with Afghanistan, including consular affairs, administering humanitarian assistance, and working with allies, partners, and regional and international stakeholders to coordinate our engagement and messaging to the Taliban.
We need to make sure the Taliban understand our messaging, you see. That's what this is really about, the messaging. I'm sure the Taliban are listening. I'm sure they're really bothered about this.
Well, they were listening to people saying you need to be inclusive. Then they started saying, yeah, we'll be inclusive. That was all that mattered.
Literally no one will be off the table for being killed. Anyway, so meanwhile...
I did want to mention him saying that thousands of Afghans are heading for the United States. I still just don't get this. Because, I mean, you've got I think the Pakistanis set up a camp in northern Pakistan for like 100,000 people.
Yep.
And okay, if they're safe there, then I don't know what the problem is. Then the next place is surely India. Much closer, much more involved.
Or Iran.
Has a much higher much better stakeholder there. Western ally kind of thing.
Sure.
India over Iran. Then going all the way to the United States. And not to mention those coming to Britain. Like, they're probably safer or as safe in India as they are in the UK at this point. Because, no, I mean in the sense that they'd be as safe in India from Islamic terror as in the UK, because we both have both problems with Islamic terror in both these countries in serious amounts.
But yes, I mean...
So India seems like a perfect destination. I don't know why.
But the point is, although I was literally about to say that, John, we're leaving, they're leaving Americans in Afghanistan and bringing Afghanistans to America. So,
that's another point.
Right. I mean, just the optics of it. I just can't get over it. But anyway, so meanwhile, in the Biden administration, you get this. The Justice Department is hiring their first chief diversity officer. Because, you know, it might be an absolute S show in Afghanistan, but there's no reason why we can't have diversity in the United States. Yeah, so the Department of Justice has posted a job for Chief Diversity Officer who would be tasked with leading the agency's equity and inclusion initiatives.
That's the reason they lost in Afghanistan. Not inclusive enough.
Yep. Do you want to guess how much money they're going to make?
I can read it there.
No. $144,000 to $172,000 a year. 6 figures a year to be like, no, you need more Browns.
What else are they going to say? You think they're going to?
Well, it's literally the entire.
What, some other message?
Yeah, exactly.
No, don't worry. We've done actually quite well. You can fire me.
Yeah, too many Browns. Too many whites, need more Browns.
Same message.
Simple as.
Every year.
Yeah.
Until they get fired.
It's literally the only thing they've got to say. And so if you want to know why this is a particular problem, Callum and I actually did a podcast on this called Ethical Companies, because these are not new, these ideas. And basically what this is a kind of way of rinsing the taxpayer for religious tithes at the expense of the business, the incorporation, or the government. And this is you. This is the people who should have that money left in their pockets at the very least, if nothing else. So advancing the ethical agenda under what should have been a secular system. But anyway, so you can sign up and watch that. And I totally recommend it. Callum did an amazing job showing that, look, this has got precedent within history.
For private companies, I mean, it's the customer and the employees who are getting ripped off.
Yeah.
With the government, we're all getting ripped off.
Yeah. So it's even worse, really. But anyway, so moving on. It's also back to the traditional American left-wing, well, and right-wing, I suppose, position of drone striking families. Apparently, they tried to blow up someone from ISIS-K and blow up a family.
Did they get the guy from ISIS-K? Was he even there?
Not sure.
No.
Unconfirmed. I mean, what are we going to do? Ask the Taliban for reliable information. We haven't got people on the ground who can verify
They
it.
are fellow stakeholders in the region.
Well, that's the thing. They are
Hate
partners. And what was the Canadian politician called? Brothers. wasn't
Yeah,
it?
Brothers.
Yes, brothers. Yeah. So as Jack Sobiak points out, yep. So this is just continuing on the drone strikes, and we've even got a picture of the apparent funeral. So good. Business as usual then. And also literally the meme. Literally the meme. Like more diversity in drone strike. The actual meme of drone striking for Black Lives Matter and trans rights.
Was that image actually real in the end or not?
I have no idea, but it may as well be real. It's an artist representation if it's not real.
Okay.
Right? It's genuinely what is happening here. And like unironically, the diversity and inclusion Biden regime is drone striking children in Afghanistan now.
But for trans rights.
For trans rights, yeah. Exactly. I can't stand it. They're also going after people who participated in the January 6th protests. These people didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but as you can see here by Ryan Nobles, the 1-6 committee will ask telecom companies to preserve the records of members of Congress and the Trump family who participated in the Stop the Steal rally. The rally. Not people who stormed into the Capitol. The rally. When Donald Trump's like, don't go into the Capitol. Go home. And, enough's enough. Those people need to be, for some reason, tracked. Enemies of the regime, I think, is the phrase that we can apply to that. They even say in there, we have the names, meaning of, if you can go down to the next one, you can see here. Right, it's genuinely intimidation, right? Political intimidation. So they're focused on those who played a role at the rally. Yeah, it's a bunch of Republican representatives, elected representatives: Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, and a bunch of others.
Jim Jordan.
Yep. A bunch of others who are obviously the on the hit list for the left-wing ideology that's taken over the Democrat Party. They're looking at them and going, right, they're counter-revolutionaries. They have to be put up against the wall metaphorically and shot, and so we're going to go after them. And again, the way they phrase it, it's like, we have the names. It's like, And in addition to members of Congress, the committee will also ask to preserve records of these members of the Trump family. And go on.
The next image here.
Next one on.
You can see Donald Trump, former president.
Yeah, Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Lara Trump, and Kimberly Guilfoyle. I've never heard of her. But yes, clear and present dangers to the United States obviously, as you can see. But obviously the British people, the British government think that Biden has gone mental because he looks like he's gone mental. The reports from the British government, go to the next one, John, is that Biden has been warned that Biden holds grudges because the reports came out, leaks came out from the British government. They were like, he seems to have gone completely mad following his press conferences on Afghanistan. A British government minister apparently said he looked gaga and he's gone doolally. So typically in proudly British statements there. But they say that, well, careful, because, Joe Biden holds grudges. It's like, well, maybe he used to, but now, can he remember?
I think the direct quote from him was, "I will remember that." Which just sounds like dementia patients like, "I will remember you insulted me."
And everyone's like, okay, old man. But anyway, so the Biden voters have not been happy about this. But remember, before we move on, remember, right? Everything about Trump was not, he was either, unqualified. So he's just a businessman. He has no qualifications to do this, or he's evil, right? So that was the framing for Donald Trump. Not that he's literally suffering from the advanced stages of dementia and can't do anything that a commander-in-chief should do. So anyway, moving on to the Biden voters posting their L's online. I love this one. Caitlin Flanagan. We told ourselves a fable that Biden was competent because we were rightly desperate to free ourselves from Trump. Because you'd pathologize Trump as evil, whereas Biden is literally getting people killed. Trump wouldn't have done this. Next one is Biden voters are somehow in a stage of cope. If we can go to the next one. This was a great little interview about people at a protest. And the chap asking questions was asking a Protect LGBTQIA plus Afghans protester about the Taliban planning to enforce Sharia law that will infringe their rights. And then a Muslim man jumps in and goes, "Oh, what Sharia? What Sharia?" As if you can see him just whip around. He heard the word Sharia. What? I'm getting involved in this. This guy needs to be told. And so the interview is just brilliant. He's actually, well, I don't know, but the Taliban say it's this. And so what do you think? And he's like, "Oh, gotta go. Can't talk about this." It's like, very interesting.
He accuses the interviewer of being Islamophobic.
Yes, because he used the term Sharia. Yeah. As if that's somehow not connected to Islam or a denigration of Islam. But anyway, and he also afterwards apparently came up to him and was like, you're from Israel then? He was like, yeah. Where? Doesn't exist. Oh, really? I
love it. Every single time someone criticizes me, are you a Jew?
Yeah, basically.
Like, that's the response.
You can tell that guy would vote Labour if he lived over here. Anyway, so the next one is the fact that the mother of the man who was killed, and she came out and said, well, that demented POS did this and got my son killed. Well, she's been deleted from social media because why wouldn't the cartel and Silicon Valley be on the side of the failing Biden regime? And, of course, Wikipedia has updated itself to point out that the Afghan war was won by the Taliban. Taliban victory.
Result. Well, at least
That's
the war's
true.
over.
At least it's over. And so we got to hear one of those very roundabout statements from Donald Trump because he can't post them on Twitter or Facebook himself. He says, never in history has a withdrawal from war been handled so badly or incompetently as the Biden administration's withdrawal from Afghanistan. In addition to the obvious, all equipment should be demanded to be immediately returned to the United States, and that includes every penny of the $85 billion in cost. If it is not handed back, we should either go in with unequivocal military force and get it, or at least bomb the hell out of it. Never thought such stupidity as this feeble-brained withdrawal was possible. Correct. So, we know who the leader of the insurrection is going to be when it comes, and we also know the sort of people who are going to be backing it up. There's a lieutenant colonel who resigned because he had questioned why the Biden administration was doing this, and he was fired from his position as a battalion commander. So he's resigned his commission entirely. He's not going to get a pension. He's not going to get anything now because he obviously despises the way this has been done. And so he's not sure what he says. He says, I don't think that's the path I'm on. He's resigning his commission, forfeiting his retirement, all his entitlements. And then we got a really interesting statement from the Marine Corps itself from this. They say, the Marine Corps is taking appropriate action to ensure the safety and well-being of Lieutenant Colonel Scheller and his family. This is a developing situation we cannot comment further on at this time. I mean, that just sounds ominous, doesn't it?
We've taken care of him and his family.
And this is coming from the military of a regime that is actively targeting and persecuting their political opponents. So it's not like it's without precedent, and it's not like they don't stand to lose an awful lot of I suppose we would call it social credit and quality. But anyway, so 90 retired generals and admirals have called for General Milley and Austin to resign immediately. 90 of them in the French tradition, signing a letter to the government saying, you've got to stop this. This is bad. This is really bad. And things are not going to go well at all. This is based on these key events involving the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. They say the consequences of this disaster are enormous and will reverberate for decades, beginning with the safety of Americans and Afghans who are unable to move safely to evacuation points, making them de facto hostages of the Taliban. The death and torture of Afghans has already begun and will result in a human tragedy of major proportions. And so you can see the battle lines of the two sides being drawn. One side is diverse, inclusive, and tolerant, and in no way capable of governing anything, and the other side can't believe that these things are being done and are actually resigning out of exasperation. And so this leads us to General Flynn. Now, you might remember General Flynn. He spoke at the Stop the Steal rally. He's quite active on Telegram, and he, of course, believes that the result of the election was not entirely on the up and up. He's been cancelled from his Chase Bank credit card accounts and various other bank accounts, citing possible reputational risk.
To the bank.
To the bank.
As if that makes any sense.
As if anyone cares who people bank with.
Could I imagine calling up your political opponent, who do you bank with? Screw them. And then, starting a boycott of the bank. As if the bank gets to decide your speech.
But obviously, as with all things in the Biden administration, they're going after their political opponents. Yeah. That's what this is. And so what happens when...
I mean, this is the kind of thing we do to sanction foreigners who we want to destroy.
Yeah. But this is the thing, right? So what they're doing here is setting the stage for the Civil War and confirming to us who's going to be involved. The public, I mean, Biden's approval rating at the moment is something like 37%. People approve of how he's handling Afghanistan. So people who obviously don't watch the news. And so you've got tremendous weakness at the top, a massive amount of power vacuum, and a national humiliation on the world stage for the United States. I can't even begin to imagine what the Americans in the military must be feeling right now, like genuinely disappointed, thinking, wow, this guy's just betrayed all of our oaths. We had an oath, and that has an obligation on the part of the authorities and the commander-in-chief, and that's been totally betrayed. People I know have died. People have died unnecessarily. An actually evil regime has taken over in place of where we were. This was done terribly. And they're persecuting those people on the other side who have said, maybe that shouldn't be the way we do things. Like openly persecuting them. I mean, one way to guarantee someone becomes a radical is to take everything away that they have. You know, making sure that generals in the United States have nothing to lose. And a bunch of the middle ranks, the officer class, have nothing to lose. And you've got loads and loads of angry soldiers who are just like, wow, I can't believe this guy's done this. And on top of that, I should have included this, but the American public aren't convinced that it was a legitimate election either. The number of people, it used to be 47%, and Rasmussen put out a poll the other day saying actually it's now 51%. You think that some shenanigans happened in the previous election. And so you've got the general feeling that you don't have a legitimate regime. You've got loads of officers and generals in the wilderness, 90 of them saying this has got to stop, you can't do this. And the Biden regime going, well, everything went brilliantly, thanks very much. We're not going to take any more questions on that. And it just looks to me like this is genuinely something that people should be concerned about. And I really, really mean this. I think that something bad's coming.
Thank you for watching this clip from the podcast The Lotus Eaters. If you want more from us, please go over to lotuseaters.com and subscribe to get access to all the premium content that we have on the site.
Yeah, we've got loads of really good stuff there. So we've been doing this for quite some time. So we've got a huge library of content in various different categories. Now, some of my favorites have been the book clubs. I'm personally a big fan of these because it means we get to read good books and important books, extract the useful information out of them, such as with this Roger Scruton's Where We Are, which is a very interesting conservative take on the current culture wars and the state of Britain at the moment. So we go through and explore the meaningful concepts. And here's one that you and Bo did with Frank Dicotta's Mao's Great Famine. It's absolutely brilliant and harrowing to read. And so when all the comments on this were happened to be, well, this was vile, we knew we'd done a good job with it. And we also have many other premium series like the Contemplations, where Hugo and Josh just go through and find something very interesting to talk about, such as this one talks about the idea of political representation and does it work, or is it a bit of a myth? And of course, we have the history content, which probably my personal favourite in this particular one. Myself and Bo talked about the achievements of Frankish warlord Charles Martel. Do you know what he's famous for, Callum?
Stopping the Muslims at Tours.
That's right. And we also do a bunch of premium videos and interviews and things like this. So in this one, we happen to have an interview with Michael Malice, who's a very, very charming guest, and I very much enjoyed this one. And we also do a bunch of premium podcasts about stuff that perhaps isn't appropriate for YouTube or various other platforms like that because of, some things outside of their editorial bounds.
So if you'd like to get access to all that premium content, please go over to lotusears.com and subscribe for as low as £5 a month. Thank you.